Hello and welcome to album review number 26. Today I'm going to be reviewing Waterfall Cities by Ozric Tentacles. I've never reviewed an Ozric Tentacles album before, but I have mentioned them quite a few times. I mentioned them recently. I actually mentioned this album recently in my 15 Great Modern Prog Albums video. So I thought it's probably been long enough I've been mentioning them. I should probably do a review. This is their 8th album, released in 1999, and it's my personal favourite. Uh, all the Tentacles aren't very well known, but they're definitely a band that everybody who likes electronic or psychedelic music with progressive elements and complex time signatures and sort of lengthy songs and loads of experimental stuff should definitely listen to. Okay, Waterfall Cities has 7 tracks on it. The first one is Coily, all instrumental. All of Ozric Tentacles' music is instrumental. Coily begins very electronic, and if you've listened to other Ozric Tentacles music before that, like if you kind of follow their music from the start, this is definitely a sign that this album's going to be very electronic. Their first, say, 5 or 6 albums were, I'd say, much more rock based, and then Curious Corn, the album before this, before Waterfall Cities, was kind of started to introduce more electronic music elements. Sorry, there's definitely electronic elements on every Ozric Tentacles album. There's space rock elements, there's psychedelic elements, there's progressive electronic, there's loads of stuff, but this is each sort of style of their music has had time to shine. I'd say if you wanted to listen to something very psychedelic, I'd probably listen to maybe Strangitude. If you want to listen to something more electronic, I'd listen to this or Spirals in Hyperspace or maybe The Floor's Too Far Away. If you want a kind of that more rock based, I guess you could say Airplan, think albums like that. I guess you want a mix of all. I guess their newer stuff from maybe the Yum Yum Tree onwards has been a bit more been like a kind of mixture of all their sounds. Each one sort of given different sort of roles in different songs. But I'd say throughout probably the first 12 albums, they all kind of had different. They sort of went through eras of different sounds and which ones would be the most prominent on each album. But Waterfall Cities, the album is very electronic, probably their most electronic. It's got EDM on it. It's got there's some sort of trance stuff. It's all the whole album's got electronic stuff pretty much all over it, and Coily begins that electronic stuff right from the start of the album. As soon as the album begins, it's just right in with the electronic. Um, it's also a very complex piece of music. There's the time signature for most of it is 17/16 time. It's also quite moody. Um, it's about 7 minutes long, and it's a fantastic introduction to the album. Very fast paced as well. Ozric Tentacles albums tend to be quite fast paced. The first track usually sort of like gets you right from the start and gets the album going, which is really good. The second track is called Zingu, which I really like. I'd actually say I prefer it to Coily. I really like Zingu because it's almost like a take two of Zingu, of Coily, sorry. If you listen to Waterfall Cities and you listen to the first 2 tracks, there's quite a lot of similarities. They're both about the same length, and the song structure is pretty identical. But apart from that, the sounds are very, very different. Again, one of the reasons Waterfall Cities is my favorite album is because it has such a vast array of sounds on it. There's electronic. Well, I already mentioned that all these elements are in every Ozric Tentacles album, but they're never done to an extent where each song's almost sounds so different to all the others. Not that the album doesn't flow. It's not that the album's disjointed because they all sound really different. While other albums, there's more of a sort of continuum with the sort of sounds on the album. But it works really well how all the songs have completely their own style, which I absolutely love. But Zingu has a pretty heavy bass line throughout it. It's not in 17/16 time the way Coily was. It's actually in 4/4. But there's actually some really cool guitar on it. It's a bit less electronic. I'd say there's kind of more guitar elements and stuff. But I really like the sort of aquatic electronic waves that sort of go throughout the song. The boom, boom, like that. Sometimes all you can do with Ozric Tentacles is just sort of say what the songs sound like, you know. Unfortunately, some of it is quite hard to describe, but Zingu is absolutely brilliant. If you like that kind of electronic stuff, it's the kind of stuff that you sort of, if you wanted to let someone listen to it, they definitely kind of go, "Oh, that's really interesting. That's really unique there." Track three is Waterfall City, which is one of the longer songs on the album. So I think it's about 10 minutes, and this is definitely where the EDM comes in. It's pretty much EDM from start to finish. The song, it has it starts off very fast paced, kind of uplifting. Then it gets a bit more quiet towards the end, and it's in the middle, sorry, and then kind of it doesn't reach that kind of peak that it had at the beginning of the momentum, I guess. But I absolutely love that kind of EDM music that's done in an experimental way. I'm not a big fan of sort of EDM when it's like pop. In fact, I'd say I'm not a big fan. I probably don't like it at all. But I really like sort of progressive EDM stuff that I've gone into the last couple of years, kind of like progressive dance stuff, sort of like some of James Holden stuff, that kind of stuff, you know. Andrea Bertolini, Kyodai, stuff like that. I love dance music if it's done in that kind of experimental way. I think that's really really cool. But if it's done in a pop way, then I'm just not into it at all. But Waterfall City, one of the best things about it is it has guitar right through it. The guitar accompanies the EDM elements, which I think is a really really nice touch. It kind of keeps it as a rock song. It keeps the rock elements, which is sort of it keeps Ozric Tentacles sort of main personality in the song, and it doesn't just go full on EDM. Track four is, I don't really know how to pronounce this. It's Chai, and I say Chai because it has a question mark in it. So I don't know how you pronounce it, but I'd probably say this song is. I think it's the shortest. It's one of the shorter ones on the album. I'd definitely say it's probably one of the most sort of straightforward psychedelic ones. It's a kind of just a kind of psychedelic rock song. There's some really nice flute on it. The bass line's really cool. Um, it's just a kind of a really nice uplifting song. And I also like, I don't know if it's Glockenspiel or something. I'm not 100% sure, but there's definitely some really cool stuff on there. So already, from what I've described, you should probably tell that this album has such a vast array of songs. The first four songs all sound totally different. Well, the first two have a similar song structure, but in terms of their sound, they sound totally different. Track five is Spiral Mind, which I guess is kind of, if you, I get it gets a wee bit more with EDM in, but it's slightly more rock based than Waterfall City. Well, actually, quite a bit. There's definitely no sort of deal sort of EDM sounds that you get with Waterfall City. It's much more rock based. There's more bass line. It's there's not as much loads of sounds all on top of each other, and that sounds like a bad thing when you have loads and loads of sounds on top of each other. But with Ozric Tentacles, it just totally works. A lot of bands, they pack all these different sounds and just lump them all together, and it all just sounds like a total mess. But with Ozric Tentacles, you can have like 20 different sounds happening at the same time, and they all link up perfectly. Uh, but Spiral Mind's probably quite stripped down in terms of its sound, while Waterfall City, the other one of the other lengthier songs on the album, has a lot more stuff going on. Spiral Mind the fact that it's a lot more quiet, a lot more just, I wouldn't say ambient. I mean, it's got a steady beat to it, but it's definitely gives the bass and things like that a lot more space to sort of grow throughout the song. But it has a really really cool sort of synthesizer sort of bit at the end when you get a bit of a crescendo. That's really really cool, and I like that we fade out as well. Track six is Sultana Dietrich, which is my personal favorite Ozric Tentacles track ever. It's 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes, I think, and it's really really cool. I absolutely love it. Starts off kind of slow, just, and then a wee bass line comes in with a drum beat, simple drum beat and simple bass line. The same bass line sort of keeps going throughout a good few minutes, and then about a minute or so, and then it sort of changes the sort of chord sequence of the bass line, if that's what you want to call it. Takes it down, makes it a bit more sinister. And then you get some reggae guitar coming in, and then the bass gets a lot more funky. This goes for a good few minutes, and then you get a sort of middle section of strange noises. Starts off very quietly, very very ambient at times. Then the tension builds and builds and builds, and then you just get this crash of electronic waves of electronic sound just going all over the place while you get guitar going and all that. It's absolutely amazing. Once that happens, you get a wee pause, and then you get that bass line again at the beginning, but it's much more uplifting. It's much more major key. Um, while they've also got some keyboard in the back going on and I think some flute as well. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a fantastic track. The way it starts off, the bass line, it's quite somber. Then you get this electronic bit, and then the way it ends it ends in such a crescendo. It's absolutely beautiful. It's fantastic. Track 7 is Aurora Borealis, which, as someone who is absolutely obsessed with the Northern Lights, as see that my calendar over there, that's the Northern Lights. I've got a poster over there of the Northern Lights. I'm desperate to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights. So when I listen to Aurora Borealis, that especially that if you listen to it, that ambient sort of opening with the small electronic sounds and sort of watery sounds. Again, the watery sounds are laced all throughout the album. It works so well. The aquatic sort of sounds just like rushing through kind of quietly. And then it sort of builds up, and then you get a bit of a kind of rocky kind of middle bit, and then it ends quietly again. It's absolutely beautiful, and I definitely picture the Northern Lights when I listen to it's just such a great end to the album. I probably would have ended the album with Sultana Dietrich personally, because I always think that I like to have my favorite song at the end of the album because it's like the grand finale. It's the one I've been waiting for, but or Aurora Borealis. Sorry, it's actually pronounced Aurora, but it says Aura for some reason on the album. Uh, Aurora Borealis is a great end to the album. Quite ambient as well, and again, it's very electronic. Lots of electronic sounds on it. Um, from what I've described, if you haven't listened to the album, I think it'd be I hope I've kind of described the album interestingly enough. Uh, but really, give this album a listen. If you're not a big fan of progressive EDM and sort of progressive electronic, but you are interested in Ozric Tentacles, definitely give if you're more into the rock, if you're more into kind of rock stuff. Definitely give Airpland a listen. That's the highest rated album. Most fans sort of agree that's the best one. I'd definitely say it's probably top 3. So definitely give Airpland a listen. If you want a kind of mix of both, maybe listen to Paper Monkeys, which I personally think is a great album. That's one of their newer ones. But anyway, that was album review 26, and still got a few more to do before Christmas. But I really hope you enjoyed, and I really hope you enjoy the album if you haven't listened to it yet. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.